Oh, the band could be outside, they do car, that could be, it could be outside. Ready?
Yes.
I have a recommendation for this morning. If you are willing to go along with this, I'll just get some input from you, LR. Yesterday afternoon, we talked about the extra instructional period for the day, and I do have another question about that that I'll ask in just a minute. I also thought our last non-monetary item is about the dress code. And so our talk this morning, we wondered if maybe we could go ahead and present the dress code piece, ask a couple more questions we have about the 8-hour or the additional instructional period for the high school, and then both teams caucus to discuss the items that have been put on the table to bring back decisions on these pieces. I know we dropped quite a bit on you yesterday, but maybe we could try and bring some closure to some of those items today, if both sides have the opportunity to meet. And then our next set of items that I have on my list are all monetary after dress code. So it's kind of that break in the system, if you will, to talk about the 8-hour day and the dress code, and then caucus and make some decisions. Each team make some decisions and give some feedback when we come back together. And I'm not sure about timelines, but I thought maybe that might be a way. In my brain, I'm feeling like I need to clean things up.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay, all right. So my question about the additional day, and I'm glad Billy's here this morning, just occurred to me last night, so just one last question. And that is, I know we have done the 8-hour day before. Obviously, Dustin brought to the table 3 different schedules that have been used in the past with that extra instructional period in there. Do we know, or does anybody know why we moved away from that? I feel like that's, kind of an important question. Why did we change? Do you not have sound?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so look at that. That was a board decision about, I think it was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. I know at the time there was perhaps concern around how that block time was being used. That in some places they felt like it would benefit students to be in class, in every class, every day. Oh, and I also got the answer to your question yesterday around graduation rates. So we pulled that up.
Thank you.
So our graduation rate for 2021 will not be released until October. But I went back to 2018. So in 2018, it was 81.7. In 2019, it was 81.3. And in 2020, it went back to 81.7.
Thank you for that information. Okay. So, yeah, that was the only question I had. Did anybody else on the team? I know we had a little bit of discussion this morning about the additional period. No, I don't think so. We got some questions from some other people, but I think we're pretty much able to handle those. The last thing that I want to talk about or introduce is the dress code. And we wrote in our letter, and I will read it specifically, the association seeks to update language to reflect changing trends and a desire to meet the needs of the staff today. And so I am actually looking at page 78 in the professional agreement.
Lucinda, we're doing this one first.
We're going to give both of them.
You want me to get both of them at the same time? Okay.
There's $2 on $10,000.
We have 2 separate proposals. So Brenda is going to give you a copy of each, and I'll do a little bit of explaining and rationale with these documents. And if you look at the language that's actually on page 78, there's a couple of, when we talk about updating language, there's a mention of rubber-soled flip-flops or Crocs. Crocs is a brand name, and again, it's kind of become a dated term. Spandex, we had a pretty good discussion about whether leggings were spandex or not, and so on, because we are seeing leggings on staff and students quite a bit these days. And we also had a pretty robust discussion within our committee about the fact that all of us own T-shirts and shirts that we buy from our schools with our logos, whether it's elementary, middle, or high, fundraisers that are done by different organizations. I purposely wore my Stuco shirt today, which I can't believe we even got that done this year. And then we can't wear them, except for if we go to extracurricular events, which most of us do that as well. So if you'll look, proposal 1, which is the very short one, is just a general, professional bargaining unit encourages appropriate dress that is business casual in nature and conveys a professional image by being coordinated and appropriate for the classroom or educational setting. And I believe we borrowed part of this language from another school district.
Several. We took,
Yeah.
we researched several different districts and then kind of took what we already had and put that language into kind of a more concise statement.
Right. So that is kind of what we saw in several other districts' contracts. And then proposal number 2 is just simply striking out what's already there and replacing it with clothing appropriate for the classroom shall include, but it is not limited to, leggings paired with a dress or tunic style top. We're hoping for appropriate dress at that point in time. Footwear that is clean and in good condition. We have all, I think, become very comfortable wearing some sort of tennis shoe that doesn't necessarily look like a tennis shoe. And of course, our fearless leader is often in tennis shoes, so she moves about the district. And then jeans that are neat and clean, rather than saying, to not wear frayed jeans, jeans that are neat and clean. Light, intentionally distressed jeans that still demonstrate a professional look. And then we included in our language school logos, shirts, sweatshirts, and polos. And we, of course, welcome feedback from your team as well. But I will reiterate once again that the main reason we put this on our letter this year or on our proposal is just simply to reflect the changing trends and to meet the needs of the staff today. I don't know off the top of my head the last time we looked at dress code, but I believe it was rather contentious when we did. So I think it's been in recent history, but not while I've been sitting at the table. So questions, comments, concerns from any members of your team?
Well, I don't know if when we put the language in professional agreement, if it was contentious or not. It was, let's say, hotly debated. The dress code was something that at that particular point in time, our board was adamant about having language to address it because of the appearance of many of our professional staff at that time. I do remember that the appearance of professional staff was even alluded to by a student at one of our high schools in an article that they did for the high school newspaper at that point in time. So when this language was put in place, it was because of our desire that professionals not only call themselves professionals in name, but that they also portrayed a professional image in the way that they dressed and modeled appearance and behavior for the students that they were in a position to teach and lead in the classroom. So, you know, it was hotly debated. We did finally agree on some language that has basically been unchanged for a number of years. You know, we still are interested in professionals looking like professionals. The dress code, depending on which facility that you may attend, is, let's say, the policy is probably enforced more so in some buildings than it is in others. It's unfortunate that we are not more consistent than what we are in the way that the dress code is enforced, and then also in the way that the dress code is adhered to. But, you know, be as that may, that's where we find ourselves. So we certainly hear and we see the language that you're proposing. I can tell you that the dress code is something that is very near and dear to us. And since I was at the table and led the discussion, we put this language in place. It's something that is very near and dear to me. So I assume, Lucinda, that that's why you waited to present this proposal after I had a good night's sleep in the afternoon yesterday.
Oh, maybe that's true. I will say that we are also interested in, of course, promoting professional dress. And I would also agree with you that enforcement of the dress code, as we talked before, is very inconsistent across the district. So, but I think revisiting things like the word Crocs might be worth taking that off the page or in some way correcting some of the language just because we've moved forward to 2021. But I also think it would be helpful, and this is just my opinion, that if we do successfully change some of the language, then that piece of language goes to the buildings and to the staff as changed language. And so it is back in front of them, so to speak. I know that we have staff members that are not aware that there's a dress code. And then we have other staff members who are sometimes sent home and are reaching out to us saying there's a dress code, because they weren't even aware that it was in there. So we need consistency. We do need professionalism. I, working at a high school, work with several teachers that are very young, and they intentionally try to dress as professional as possible so they don't look like the kids. So we see that. But I also am aware of the fact that we've got PE teachers at the elementary school level that probably shouldn't be teaching in a skirt or, you know, in a tie. So I think we need to be realistic about the different tasks that are done by the educators in our district, while at the same time trying to maintain that level of professionalism. And it's a difficult topic to address, but I think bringing it up front and center will help maybe moving forward correct some of the inconsistencies that we see in the district. So, anybody on this side have anything that needs to be added? Anything I've left out from our discussions?
I mean, the only thing I would say, LR, is I think, I work with students who are labeled severely emotionally disturbed. So I spend a lot of my day on the floor. I'm MANT certified. I'm a MANT trainer for the district. So I spend a lot of my day involved in crisis situations. And so it is frustrating sometimes to feel like I'm being hindered from doing the things that I need to do in order to support my students adequately in the classroom and in a general education setting, instead of them needing to go to an alternative setting because I can't engage with them the way that I need to because of the clothing that I wear. And I know that I've heard similar things from other behavior teachers across the district that, you know, I'm 33 years old and I consider myself to be relatively intelligent. So when you say I'm a professional, I just would like the courtesy of being able to decide what I think professional dress looks like. I think I'm good at that. You know, I find a good medium between wearing black jeans because I can, you know, and things like that. So I think we're just trying to kind of update the contract a little bit to make it so that staff have the ability to kind of use their dress code in a way that makes sense. You know, if you're an elementary school teacher and you're painting on the floor, maybe wearing, you know, slacks that day isn't the best idea for you because you're going to be rolling around on the floor with a bunch of kids. And I get that, you know, but I think people are just asking for the leeway to kind of make those decisions, you know, as a professional.
Just to be clear, current language does allow for attire. Attire should be appropriate for the educational activity to be engaged in that day. It should also be appropriate for the role of the teacher or staff member in each activity. So there is that flexibility for your PE teacher, for your art teacher, for your kindergarten teacher, for your special needs teacher. That there is that flexibility already built in to the agreement and to the dress code. So I wouldn't expect a PE teacher to be in a skirt, and that language is already reflected in the professional agreement.
And we left that language in. We were aware. Thank you very much for pointing that out. But yeah, we did leave that language in. Yeah. I didn't feel like I was being very loud. Okay.
I don't think our team has any other comments.
Okay. And I think our team has exhausted their comments as well. So that concludes our list of what we refer to as non-monetary items with language that we have presented to your team. And we, of course, have your language that has been presented to us. And so I would propose at this point in time that the teams caucus to discuss what's been presented already before we are moving into the monetary items, because that is what's next on my list.
Sounds good. That's fine with us.
I got 9:30.
Rather than set a time, maybe Lucinda, you and I can just touch base with one another in an hour and a half or so. See
That sounds good.
where we're at.
I'll make sure I have my phone with me. Okay?
So we're touching base, what, 11 you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Approximately 11.
Okay.
LR, I know last year you guys caucused over in Colin's office. Are you using that conference room or did you want to use this one? Because I have made arrangements for us to use, for our team to use the art room if necessary. So if you guys want to use this room, we can go over to the art room.
If that's fine with you, we can just still stay here.
Okay.
Where are we going? Can we go to the art room?
It's in room 111. It's the art room just right inside the door in A building.